welcome back, everyone, from those great breakout sessions. I am delighted to join you to welcome our amazing Senate Majority Leader, Winnie Brinks. I am so fortunate because she represents Grand Rapids. She has as a senator, but also before that as a state rep. And for those of you who don't know, Winnie has an incredible journey into leadership. She's always been an amazing leader. And she stepped up to the plate a number of years ago. And if you don't know, her first campaign for the state was as a write-in candidate for state rep. So all of us who have campaigned, you know how hard that is. So she stepped up. It was a really contentious time in our community. She stepped up, ran, won, served as a state representative, doing really incredible work, unfortunately in the minority. And since just, my goodness, is it 7 months ago? We had a sweep here in Michigan that all of you are aware of, and now she is a tremendous leader in the Democratic Party in the Senate, and is really leading the charge, doing great work, passing important legislation that not just is supportive of cities and local communities, but really a supporter of women and families and children. She, in my opinion, is one of the hardest working legislators I have ever met. She's accessible, she's hardworking, she's task-oriented. But more than that, everyone who knows her, regardless of whether you're an R or a D, they trust her. She has built deep, meaningful relationships across the aisle in Lansing and within our community. And she has incredible integrity. And in a season that we're in right now, I believe that that is the most important quality to have. And she really exemplifies that. Last, I will tell you two more things. Recently, she was honored by the Michigan Municipal League as the Legislator of the Year, an honor that I believe is very well deserved. And then in honor of Mother's Day, she's also the mom to 3 amazing daughters who maybe someday will be carrying the title of mayor or senator or governor. So with that, please join me in welcoming our amazing Senate Majority Leader, first female in the state of Michigan, Winnie Brinks.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mayor Bliss, for the wonderful introduction. She also introduced me, 2 weeks ago at the Michigan Municipal League conference, and so we're taking this show on the road, and maybe I can do her the favor sometime. And I think, just a quick note about Mother's Day, I don't think my children are going to go into politics anytime soon. They've seen my schedule, Anyway, I'm Winnie Brinks. I'm the state Senate Majority Leader, and I'm very proud of that fact. We worked very hard to get here, and I worked for 10 years in the minority, and so this is just a very rewarding term for me to be able to serve in the state Senate. Because of term limits, this will be my last term, so it's my last 4 years of opportunity, and we are not wasting one single minute. So it's just a real honor for me to be able to serve. I know you heard a lot from our wonderful Governor Garland Gilchrist, as well as Senator Mallory McMorrow earlier about how much fun we are having here in the legislature in the majority, and it is true. And we've been able to get some great things done in a very short amount of time. One thing I hope that we've put to rest is the often repeated line that all politicians are the same. I think that after enshrining LGBTQ rights and abortion rights and workers' rights and implementing tax cuts for retirees and low-income working families and passing gun violence prevention laws, we've put an end to that statement that all politicians are the same. We've branded ourselves as a majority for the people. The people. No exclusions, no caveats, no asterisks. And in my 2.5-hour drive from Grand Rapids, where I live and serve, to Detroit, today the variety and range of the people's needs is vast. My drive starts in one urban community and ends in another, where we need to do lots of work to tackle things like housing accessibility and affordability, racial justice, water and air quality. But I pass through other mid-sized towns like Lansing that are finding new identities with our changing manufacturing landscape. And in between are rural communities that need broadband and closer access to grocery stores and medical care. And everywhere, no matter where, People need jobs that do more than just pay the bills, jobs that they can build a life on, that allow for a decent quality of life, and the ability to afford safe and stable housing, reliable transportation, time to take care of their families, saving for your kids' college education, and putting away enough to retire when the time comes. Our Majority for the People is dedicated to meeting the needs of every Michigander in red and blue counties alike. And ideas from leaders in this room and across the country are going to help us do it. After 40 years in the minority in the state Senate, we obviously had a lot of pent-up priorities on our list, and we hit the ground running, passing key pieces of legislation. But we also spent a lot of time, a great deal of time, and allocated a significant amount of resources to spur economic development. As you know, Michigan is the state that put the world on wheels. I don't know how many times you've heard that if you're from out of state, but we do mean it, and we're very proud of it. But if we think about how cars and mobility is changing rapidly around us, and the demands on our climate, and the demands, frankly, from our children. My children are all in their 20s, and if you talk to them about climate change, they will tell you their concerns, and they're very real. And we know that all of this, taken together, requires a new approach. The auto industry has been the economic backbone of so many communities in our state for decades. And we recognize that we are at a point that if we don't adapt, we will lose that edge and all the economic benefits that it has brought us. But more than that, we realize this monumental shift from gas-powered engines to electric vehicles is an opportunity to do things better, cleaner, and more sustainably. And by bringing advanced battery manufacturing to Michigan, we are setting our state and generations to come up for the opportunities of a future that builds on the best strengths of our auto industry and heritage in a way that is responsive to the imperative of addressing climate change. As we debated our economic development strategy with our new majorities, we spent a lot of time talking about how we support transformative industries. But we also took this moment to create a more comprehensive and holistic approach. Rather than talking about strengthening our economy only through a business lens, we decided to look at economic development through a community and a constituent lens. While we put $1 billion into economic development, we insisted that it was accompanied by the largest tax cut in decades, also worth about $1 billion. By restoring to 30% the earned income tax credit for working families and eliminating an unfair tax on retirement income for seniors. We insisted on establishing a permanent fund to address housing needs and increase support for our community revitalization and placemaking fund. And we ensured that both have a designated and ongoing source of revenue. And we expanded protections in our civil rights law to include LGBTQ people because, first and foremost, it was the right thing to do. But also, as Governor Whitmer so accurately stated, bigotry is bad for business. We repealed statutes on the books that criminalized abortion because we know that if, when, how many, and under what circumstances any of us choose to have a family is not only not the government's business, but it is one of the biggest economic decisions a person can ever make. We know all of these policies, all of them, work together to ensure a healthy and vibrant future for the people of our state. And we plan to keep on working to make Michigan even more competitive and to improve the quality of life for our constituents. As we are currently immersed in the budget process, we continue to make meaningful investments in K-12 education because we know we can't thrive without a solid preparation for the jobs of the future. I believe some of you had an opportunity to hear from my colleague, Senator Darren Camilleri, recently in a breakout session. He chairs the Appropriations Committee for pre-K through 12 schools. And so if you need to know more about all of the great things that we're doing in education, I'd urge you to talk to him. I don't know where he is. Did he sneak out? He's heard me talk before, so he's probably bored. But anyway, he's a great resource, and we're doing some really great innovative things. things that he's proposed in the budget to grow, support, and retain our teaching workforce, to better support at-risk students, and implement free breakfast and lunch for all students. Also up next, climate solutions. And I know the next panel is going to be about this, so I'm excited to hear what they have to say. But for the first time in a long time, we are in a position to make a difference by both preparing and mitigating climate crisis. Our biggest challenges are also our biggest opportunities, and addressing climate change is probably the best example of this. Michigan has so much to gain from clean energy investments over the next decade, and similarly, so much at risk if we fail to do this right. As the guardians of 1/5 of the world's fresh water, we can and should be leading the nation in implementing proactive climate policies. In so many ways, especially in the electric vehicle space, we already are. Just a few weeks ago, members of the Senate Democratic Caucus introduced our Clean Energy Future Plan, which aims to clean up our grid by ending reliance on coal, reducing energy waste, engaging farmers in solar energy production, establishing a clean fuel standard, and more. The climate challenges ahead of us are not small, but we are not going to ignore them or pretend that they aren't real. Again, not all politicians are the same. We are prepared to take bold action to protect our environment, to preserve our future, all the while creating good-paying jobs and healthy communities. Another incredibly important topic that we'll be taking up in coming weeks is legislation around ethics in elections. Michigan consistently ranks dead last in ethics, and frankly, it's embarrassing. One need only read the news out of Lansing any given week recently to see why we need desperately to clean up our laws around how politics works in our state. At a moment in history like no other, we simply must put stronger measures in place so that the people we represent can be sure that we work for them and not for personal gain, and that the faith of the electorate in the integrity of our democracy has never been more important. Being in a position to finally get something done on this front is a really exciting opportunity for us. I want to close with one last thing that has really been on my mind this week. I'm excited to be here, and I'm really excited to see your faces, but I have to tell you, it's been a really long week in Grand Rapids. Here's why. This week, for the 4th time this school year, students in my community have come to their local public school with a gun. 3 of those 4 times, it's been a little kid, an elementary school-age child. Thank goodness everyone is okay, but this is not normal. It's heartbreaking for everyone. It's traumatic for students, distressing for parents, teachers, and administrators, and I refuse to accept this as our new normal. These are our little kids. We are very pleased that we were able to pass safe storage, universal background checks, and extreme risk protection orders into law earlier this year. But it is clear that there is more work to be done to ensure that our children are safe. It's really gratifying to be part of a group like the NewDEALers, whose leadership shapes what we are not going to accept for the next generation and chooses proactively to use our positions to make a better normal for them. Whether it's public safety, climate, an economy that works for everyone, access to safe and affordable housing, I believe the power of the minds and hearts in this room, and it's affirming to connect with leaders who share in this commitment. So again, I want to say thank you for your willingness to lead with service in mind, for your work toward creative, practical solutions for our country, for being unafraid to have hard conversations, and for sharing your wisdom with others who are leading in similar positions throughout our nation. So thank you, and I hope that you enjoyed the nearly perfect springtime weather that we arranged for you here in Michigan. Thank you.